Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to touch it. They haven't got it. He's on the outside line, though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now, though, for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
A very good afternoon and excuse me, frog in the throat there. Very good afternoon, everybody, and welcome along to the Modern Virtual World Sportscar Championship of 2026. Live on JP Broadcasting and on Champion Sim Racing on YouTube. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. Joining me in the booth today will be Ross Smith, and behind the scenes, our broadcast director will be the man, the myth, the legend that is Mr. James Parford. It's round 3 of the calendar as we head to the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari for 90 minutes here at Imola. And more to the point, it is going to be a very exciting affair with hypercars and LMGT3s in action, with a whole host of manufacturers represented. 42 cars set to go into battle. So first of all, let's take you through the calendar as it stands right the way through to the 21st of November. After this one, we'll head to Spa for 90 minutes on the 16th of May, then the Le Mans test on May 23rd. June the 6th, we'll see 4.8 hours round Le Mans ahead of the Glen at Watkins Glen for 60 minutes on June 20th. July the 18th, we head to Interlagos for 90 minutes, followed by the 8th of August, 60 laps of Road America. COTA, we'll have a 90-minute adventure on August 29th, then Fuji for 90 minutes on September 26th, 100 laps of Road Atlanta on October the 10th, and then we will have the rescheduled Qatar race, 100 minutes in the LaSalle International Circuit on October 31st, and then the Persian Gulf, the Kingdom of Bahrain, will host the 2-hour series finale on November the 21st. So let's first of all talk about the keys to the race itself. It's about mastering close quarter combat, attack the curbs, and avoid the messes. Also, with regards to that, you've also got to watch your track limits. For the GT cars, they'll be probably looking at 2 stops apiece, between 30 to 35 minutes per stint, with medium tyres being used. Hypercars will be 20 to 24 minutes, 3 to 4 stops with a combination of medium and hard tyres being used. Now we go to the standings. Hypercar at the moment, it is Ben Kesby that leads the way. Just 3 points ahead of Tom Lane, with Egil Karabasak rounding out your top 3, with Dahlgren, Troy Uyen, Bradley Sellers, Timon Suvic, Johnny Gutierrez, Riley Koenig, Wouter de Bruyne rounding out the top 10. British Turkish Racing Ferrari lead the way in the team standings by nearly 50 points ahead of SKS Motorsports Toyota. CMS Pro Ferrari round out the top 3 ahead of Team Rookie Monsters BMW MV8 Hybrid Evo. Bad Day Racing, Craven Racing round out the top 6 in the team standings. Then we head to AMS, and it is John Mayer that leads the way by just 2 points ahead of George Angelidis, with Jerry Chen a further 2 points adrift in P3. Stephen Boyce and then Eric Monnier ran out the top 5, with Matthew Boyce, Vinicius Goncalves, Zachary Chauveau, Mike Buse, and then we've got Norm Graff rounding out the top 10. Curie Mistral lead the way on 78 points in the teams, ahead of Trash Panda Racing, Meyershank Racing, and Crazy Squirrels rounding out the Hypercar AM team standings. LMGT3 sees 1 point separate Dan Kirby and also JT Tammy. William Snowden and Alan Holden round out the top 4 ahead of John Uyen, David Yunt, Simon Kingsbury, Alexander Schultz, Alexander McQuarrie, and Daniel Fowler rounding out the top 10, with CMS Pro Porsche leading the team, standing by 31 points ahead of Boyd Transport Racing, with Luxury Lexus Racing rounding out the top 3 in the team standings. SF Motorsport Porsche and Initial 3 Racing ran out the top 5 LMGT3 standings itself. Finally, we head to the LMGT3 AM standings, and it's Vasilis Katarinakis that leads the way by 20 points ahead of Stuart Barge, with Daryl Kruger, Maximilian Petravki, Stephen Miller, Peter Meyer, Matthew Overton, Christian Dauger rounding out the runners that have scored points so far this season. Pinnacle Racing leads the way ahead of Dark Thunder Racing in the LM3 AM standings. And then we get to the circuit itself. The Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari, based in the Emilia-Romagna region of the country, built back in 1953, measures just over 3 miles, and has 17 corners from Tamburello right the way to Variante Bassa, which is the last corner before the start-finish line itself. And with that in mind, qualifying has already been completed, and we have a newcomer at the sharp end of the standings. It's Axel Laflamme in the 018 Aston Martin Valkyrie that has put it on pole position here at the Italian circuit, ahead of Tom Lane, with Ben Kesby rounding out the top 3. Matthew Bice has taken pole in Hypercar AM, Dan Kirby in LMGT3, and Maximilian Petravki has taken pole in LMGT3 AM. And I'd like to welcome in for the very first time a very, very big hello and welcome back, Ross Smith.
Hi, Alex. It's great to be here. It's great to work with you again, and looking really forward to today's race. It's going to be pretty exciting. Just watched the real one, so lots going on there, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of similar kind of action on track today.
Yes, indeed. It should be a very, very good race indeed. 43 cars, because I've just seen Daniel Scott just join the grid. But 90 minutes here at Imola. I mean, obviously we've got the keys to the race, but one of the things we do have to remember here is the fact that the track is not very forgiving here at Imola.
No, not at all. It's very tight. You know, as the replacement, I guess, temporary replacement for Monza, which we typically see on the calendar. It provides a lot of unique challenges. It's quite a bit hillier. It's got a lot more variation in geometry with drivers have to contend with, but it's really just a lot tighter than what you see at Monza, or even many of the other tracks actually within the series. So when it comes down to getting around your competitors, that's one thing, but then once you get caught up in multi-class traffic, that's when the chaos really begins, and drivers have to focus and make sure that they don't get any damage that they don't need.
Yeah, and just seeing in the chat, Ryan Paulbert Reyes has just said hardware issues, fan failure for AIO, just made it back from the computer store and did not have enough time to install the new fan, so he's looking forward to watching the stream. Well, Ryan, hopefully you enjoy the show, as we are currently underway with our warm-up session. I think the biggest thing, as we always see, will be the case of how hot the temperatures will be. I mean, at the moment in warm-up, we've got 19-degree air ambient, along with 33-degree track temperature as well, and that's going to be quite crucial. Tyre degradation can be a bit of a stomping ground, so to speak, that drivers will have to keep their eyes on when it comes to when they decide to switch tyres.
Yeah, Alex, that's actually a really good point. I noticed that some of the drivers, particularly in the all-wheel drive variants of the hypercars, they were using hards on the front. I'm seeing that, at least right now, a lot of them are running with mediums, but we'll see what happens when they go to race. But that's it's definitely a good strategy if you have a particular setup, particular balance to your car and a driving style, to try and preserve the fronts. You don't get as much bite, but you at least are able to hold on to that grip a little bit longer. The reduced grip, I guess you could say, that you do have with that harder compound. So it'll be curious to see if drivers play that out throughout the race, or if they decide to switch things up and just go for maximum attack with mediums front and rear. Obviously you can't do that with the GT3s. They're just the harder compound all the way around. It's listed as medium here, and I think it's the H1 compound is what it's called. But yeah, it's a little less strategy there, but yeah, it should be interesting as we can see them doing their pit box check right now. That's why you see everyone crammed into pit road.
Yeah, always the case whenever warm-up takes place here for the Modern Virtual Sports World Sports Car Championship. Of course, it is very much in line with what we see in the World Endurance Championship, and has been reflected to showcase that as well. There has also been a little bit of an update, I understand, with Ferrari reference its power output as well, if I remember correctly, Ross.
Yeah, there was, as per our constant BOP process that we go through, the 499 seemed to have a bit of an advantage based off of some of the results on previous races. So I can't recall if they ended up sticking with a change in the power. I thought they just put weight on it because they didn't want to change too much, but I'll double check that.
Well, I've actually just got the league info up at the moment that the 499P version 0.76 has weight increase from 1,053 kilos to 1,080. Power decrease by 7 horsepower from 653 to 646. And the newton meters for torque has been reduced by 6 newton meters from 603 to 597. There's also been an update because obviously the Ford Mustang now becomes the Ford Mustang Evo with the relevant file name conventions, updated cockpit info for improved head movement, under tray resets, quite a few other additions. The Temerario has had an update on livery typo on livery fixed. Spinner updated. The TR010 has been updated. Updated liveries for the M8 AIM Hybrid V8 Evo. And I like this with regards to the mod update reference the Acura, the ARX06 Evo. Updated name and entry to Evo. Updated liveries so they accommodate the new cheese wedge and rear fender pod inlets. So I like it when cheese wedge is a nice term to make it easier for people to understand aerodynamics.
Well, that's true, yeah, and that's George Angelides, who works for HRC. He kind of gets some eyebrows raised on that, and he says, "What? That's what they are. That's just what we call them." So, yeah, those are in there. The Cadillac is actually the Evo is prepped and ready for that one, but I know that there was some of the physics updates that they wanted to put in there prior to bringing that out. So you can still see, it's harder to kind of tell what some of these changes are, but like the headlights, some of the endurance lights on the front are different. The wing is a bit lower on the rear for that Cadillac, and you can see that those original little Batman wings, those winglets that kind of cut into the car, those have actually been removed on the Evo version. So this will be the last race for this league where we get to enjoy them, and unfortunately they just shaved them off. You know, I thought it was a fun little feature, but maybe the guys in the crew were tired of working around them and poking themselves in the ribs and everything trying to fix the car. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, as we're heading to the last 6 3/4 minutes of the warm-up, it looked like it was a traffic jam on the M25 when everyone's stopping. Hypercars and LMGT3s like literally just parking themselves in front of the garage doors, and then we see Daniel Scott from Team Rookie Monsters barge his way past out of the exit of the garage, past one of the Toyotas, and just clobbers the right front fender of the Toyotas as if to say, "Come on, you're blocking with you, get out my way." However, it should be a rather interesting. Now, Axel Laflamme, I think, if I remember correctly, he is a debutant in the series. I do recognise the name from the world of karting as well, and I know that he does like to run on the sims as well. So he was very, very quick in qualifying in the Aston Martin Valkyrie, and he actually put in a pretty good lap time to depose some of the usual people that we have in the hypercar division, like say Tom Lane, Ben Kesby, Timon Suvic, et al. So I'm going to be interested to see how he gets on in the race here today.
Yeah, you're right, Alex. He's definitely shown that the car can throw its weight around, and I believe I saw was it Brian Hall down in the AM side. He also had the Aston Martin for that class of drivers pretty high up there. So obviously it's a very strong car, at least if nothing else, on single lap pace. So we'll see if he's able to carry that across the full stint distance of which they'll probably have about 4 or 5 today, so about 3 or 4 stops. So we'll see what he can do. Like you said, in the karting world, he's got a name for himself, and he's got some good competition here. Hopefully they put on a good show.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone just exceeding track limits going through Rivazza at turns 14 and 15. Ben Kesby, the man of the moment in the hypercar class for the British Turkish Racing Ferrari outfit, doing hopefully going to do the Cavallino Rampanti a very good thing by winning here, hopefully on Italian soil. I mean, also Maximilian Petravki, you see in the LMGT3 AM division, put it on pole in the class, as there we see the McLaren 720S Evo. So, and a lot of them, well,
none of that during the race.
I was going to say, I mean, Petravki just decided maybe, I'm just going to let go of the steering wheel. It's only warm up, but the race is going to be a very, very different matter when we go green for 90 minutes. But when it comes to the closing speeds, and this is something that we tend to talk about week in, week out here on CMS here, Ross, that the absolute weaponization of how rapid these hypercars are, and then the LMGT3s are like going, okay, I'm battling for the lead, and then it's a case of, oh no, I've got 3 hypercars in my rear view mirror, and then you realise it's the leader behind you. He's got the rest of the top 3 chasing him down. You've got to think with split-second reactions, and here at Imola, you have got literally no room to breathe. I mean, even though coming out of Rivazza at turn 15 and then heading down the front stretch, well, it isn't really a front straightaway. It is more like it's like 3 keys. You've got turn 16, then you've got Variante Bassa at 17 just before the stripe, and then you've got turn 1 before you even hit the first corner of Tamburello, which, if anyone might remember their Italian track history, Tamburello used to be a flat sweeping left-hander. Before he got changed after the incident quite a few years ago. When you think about it, it was back in 1994 on the main weekend at the San Marino Grand Prix, where we lost both Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna one day after the other, and we nearly could have lost Rubens Barrichello that weekend as well, because he had a big off in the Jordan. The car went airborne, hit the barriers, gave him a concussion, a split upper lip that ballooned. And Dr. Sid Watkins, God rest his soul, said to Rubens, no, you're not racing this weekend. You've got a concussion. Don't risk it.
Probably saved his life.
No, well, Rubens did not race. He actually sat by the sidelines, if I remember correctly, because I actually asked him about it once. Don't think he did, but I will just double check my history. Well, my history banks is in Wikipedia. But no, but I mean the thing was, it was quite a, back in those days, it was the fact that Barrichello had that big crash, but we are now going to start readying up, so I think it is time to take you through the grid very shortly for round 3 of the series. It's Axel Laflamme and Johnny Gutierrez on the front row. Tom Lane and Ben Kesby round out row number 2. We then head to the next 2 rows, and it will be Timon Suvik starting on the inside of row 3 with Magnus Dahlgren alongside. Michael Ockenbecky, Edie Clark round out row number 4. Next up, it will be Bradley Sellers and Troy Uyan, followed by Ronnie Koenig and Alan Smith, who complete the top 12. Robin Merling and Oliver Day will complete the first batch of hypercars. Then we go to Hypercar AM. Matthew Bison, George Angelidis round out the front row of that grid, and that is row number 8, out of Jerry Chen and John Mayer. Zachary Chavot and Vinicius Goncalves round out the overall top 20. Carl Strahal and Stephen Weiss round out the top 22, ahead of Norm Graff and W. Mike Weiss, and they round out the Hypercar AM field. Hubert van Gashoven, joined by Daniel Kirby on the next row. And then we'll have the likes of Senny Stoffmiel, JT Tammy and William Snowden, who ran at the top 4 in the LMGT3 division. Maximilian Petravki will start 5th overall in LMGT3, taking pole in the AM division. He'll be ahead of the likes of Brian Van Berzegom, John Uyan and David Junt in the Lexus RCF. Vasilis Kathaninakis will be 2nd in the Ford Mustang Evo GT3 in the AM division, ahead of Stephen Miller, Peter Meyer, Darrell Kruger, Stuart Barge, Matthew Overton, and then Alan Holden, the sole Lamborghini Temerario GT3 that makes its DTM debut this weekend at the Red Bull Ring. Matthew Bice rounding out the grid. Well, he's down as a DNF, unfortunately, is the number 99 Toyota TR010, but it is Laflamme at the front end of the field in the number 018 Aston Martin Valkyrie, and he'll have the 002 Cadillac V Series R of Johnny Gutierrez for CMS alongside him on the front row. This is set to be a very, very interesting third round of the calendar as the field on its rolling lap now goes through Acqua Minerale at turn 9 and turn 10. You've got to be very, very decisive through that second of the right-handers coming down from turn 8 at Piratella because it's uphill. And then Variante Alta. This is one of the main chicanes on the circuit that will catch a lot of drivers out, especially if you're in a low-slung hypercar. And those curves are very, very high, Ross. And if I was them, I would try and avoid those curves like the plague.
You're absolutely right. That's going to be the biggest challenge in terms of just driver handling with particularly the hypercars, because you've got to be set up to be quite stiff for the rest of the track. But the second you start sniffing those curves, that's when the rodeo begins. Sniffing curves, yes. So yeah, here we come down to the front straight. As a reminder, it's a manual rolling start here for CMS. So as the drivers get to the line, their row can go up to racing speed. Hopefully, Axel has that note in hand. You are allowed to keep pace with the cars in front of you, but as soon as your car crosses the start-finish line, that's when your race begins.
So we are set and ready for round 3 here at Imola for the modern virtual world sports car championship of 2026. As we are set and ready to go green here at the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari. It's Laflamme and Gutierrez on the front row. Lane and Kesby, row number 2. And Axel Laflamme is already making sure that he gets the whole shot in front of everybody. Green flags in the air, and now he go racing. And straight away, there was one of the Acuras, 2 wheels on the grass, as it's a flood of activity, 3 wide at points. And this is just absolute madness here at Imola. And already, well, Axel Laflamme has dropped down the order big time. And that is Matthew Bice. Laflamme currently P14 at the moment. Gutierrez in P2. Kesby 3rd. Lane, Suvic, Dahlgren, Ely Clark, Locke, Uyan, and Smith ran out your overall top 10. And now the GT3s will get into action. And there has been a further drama. That start was absolutely bedlam, chaos, nigh on a bit of carnage as we've got a yellow out in Sector 2. Some of the hypercars got caught out, one of which was our pole sitter Axel Laflamme, who's got to start charging his way forward. David Junt now ahead of Maximilian Petravki. So that was a chaotic start, and I think in our sort of thinking here, Ross, is another. Oh, that's probably the Acura that went 2 wheels on the grass going into Tamburello on the very start of the race when we went green for 90 minutes. It was all hell and all fire and brimstone, and everyone just got unleashed, and it just all went chaos.
Yeah, that was absolutely one of the most wild starts I've seen in a while here. And it looks like there were just a few miscues, particularly at the front with Axel Laflamme. I'm not sure what happened there. We're going to get a quick look here back at some of the start, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, we will...
Oh, there's actually a sudden stop. We missed that part as we were kind of up towards the front, but it looked like they were rearranging.
Yeah, that was Goncalves in the other car, the 48 Valkyrie. I mean, like, Laflamme had the right intention, as we see that he's... yeah, I mean, well, I mean, you're seeing from here, I mean, Goncalves has a drama going into Variante Alta. Got Daniel Scott in there a little bit further back. So I don't know what happened with regards to... I think that things have righted itself, but Axel Laflamme is actually now classified in 12th. But they come down into Rivazza off of turn 13. So Laflamme just backs up a little bit, keeps on the brakes. And because going through into Rivazza, you can't really go too wide unless you're going to try and facilitate an overtake. He then lets Gutierrez go to the right-hand side. So Laflamme is waiting, and then you see here, he's accelerating then braking. Now he's accelerated a little bit more and started to pick up the pace a little bit to allow Gutierrez to close alongside. Then you've got the likes of Tom Lane in the 50 car, and then we go green. Now all of a sudden there ends up being a Toyota up front. Laflamme guns it. Yeah, so the thing is, Boyce came out of pit lane and ended up at the front end of the field. But then we go green. Absolute bedlam carries on. There's Boyce coming out of pit lane. Laflamme, I think, has completely mistimed the start. And there he is, picking in the middle. He gets a little bit of a hip check and shoulder. And then we see a few of the Acuras go straight lining off of Tamburello. And it's all bedlam. It's like flotsam and jetsam all over the shop. Laflamme drops down the order. And then we get into Villeneuve. And then it's just like Laflamme's just trying to fight his way back up the order. But now we have a bit more of a... I mean, the thing is that is... and that's Matthew Hyde up front. I mean, like, there was like a load of people in that opening lap that just went completely off the circuit. So Matthew Boyce is effectively one lap down because he started from pit lane. But Johnny Gutierrez is leading the way. He's got Ben Kesby right with him. Now, Kesby qualified P4 and now is up to second, the hypercar points leader after the opening 2 rounds as Matthew Boyce. I did say about those curves going through Variante Alta. And now Ben Kesby was trying to go 3 wide, go piggy in the middle, goes round the outside of Matthew Boyce. Now, Matthew Boyce needs to keep out of the way, and he does so. But I think it was just a case when everyone started charging up the inside of him, he kind of must have just realised, oh, hang on a second, I went out in front of everybody when the lights went green.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he waited so long, because we do that manual start, and as far as our Factor 2 things, you're doing a standing start. So by the time the field went through and was out of the first sector, he should have had the green light. So I don't know if it maybe was holding it for an extraordinarily long amount of time, or if he just was waiting for the field to come up and then decided to go. But yeah, that's obviously caused a bit of a slow up here. I was so confused. I'm like, that looks like one of the Bice cars. Why is he up there in front of the field? But I mean, the biggest loser out of all of this obviously is Laflamme, because he's just fallen back, and I think he thought that first line was the go line, as we saw him kind of pull away from Johnny, and then he backed off as he realized, oh wait, no, that's not the start-finish line, and then maybe just didn't punch go at the real one. So yeah, he's got his work cut out for him, as he's now up to 9th behind Troy Uyan.
Yeah, and he's gathering pace all the while. I mean, he's just done a 31.5. Uyan did a 33.1. Gutierrez with the fastest lap of the race, as Ben Kesby now puts his authoritative stamp on the lead of the race. There's Laflamme bumping over the curves through Variante Alta. So, right, we look at the biggest losers. Laflamme has lost 8 places. Daniel Scott up a big, I think it was north of 25 positions. So, Daniel Scott, the Team Rookie Monsters BMW M V8 Hybrid Evo. As Laflamme closing in on Becky Ely Clark in the 093 Acura ARX 06 Evo, and Laflamme to the outside is going to probably get the whole shot through into turn 2. And I think Becky Ely Clark, she definitely did not want any part of that. Let Laflamme go through, who is on the warpath in the Aston Martin Valkyrie.
Yeah, he's definitely showing the pace of that car. We'll just see if, these kind of early trials and tribulations add to some of the tire wear, because that's one thing that these drivers are really going to have to take care of, as you're talking about in Acqua Minerale, the way that the undulations in that part of the track can really make it difficult for the hypercars in particular to run through there, because it looks like there's a little bit of tunneling going on. Whoever that was right in front, I didn't catch who that might have been. Right in front of Axel, but they disappeared for just a second. But that part of the track right here, there's so much change in the geometry of the track and the suspension on these cars that it can put a lot of pressure on just shifting constantly through the way that the tires are contacting the road patch, and it can really work hard on worn and hot tires. And that's why I'm a little bit concerned with the Aston Martin, because I know that historically we've seen that it can really work its tires a little bit more than the other ones. It gives it great pace advantage early on, but if you don't manage that, it can really come back to bite you in the back half of a stint.
Yeah, as Matthew Bice sets his personal best lap time, Laflamme again. Now another Acura in front. That's Mike. That's going to be. Well, that is one of the Acuras, probably one of the lower down Acuras, I believe. But yeah, Laflamme now up into P7. That's actually on Becky Ely Clark. So Laflamme up to P7. Now we'll go charging after Michael Lock and the number 2 Ferrari 499P that is just making its way. And look at the livery on Becky Ely Clark. That's a bit of Tron legacy. Like, I like that livery there. How that accentuates it. It's a bit of a mix of the original Tron, a bit of legacy, a bit of Aries in there as well. And that car looks absolutely striking. And he's got behind him Troy Uyan. Alan Smith is not that far behind in another Acura, the number 92, as they go through into Acqua Minerale. And you can see how hard Axel Laflamme is charging after Micah Lock at the moment, because there were sparks flying from the right rear of the diffuser on the 018, and now through into Acqua Minerale. We've got a yellow out in sector number 3. Vinicius Goncalves, I think, has just been hit. So sector 3, that is going to be right. So let's just have a look at the Champion Motorsports replay. And this is going to be Intervariante Alta, and that is going to be Calvin straight on the 48. It was John Mayer that spun it. Oh, he just turns it in. Back end swaps with the front quite quickly. John is a passenger on that front, but just see.
Yeah, I think it was Zach Chavot. Meyer was the one in the Cadillac, I think.
Yeah, so Zach Chavot looked like he touched the white line as well, and maybe touched the grass in that unsettled car. Yeah, and so,
bit argy-bargy.
Big sideways moment. That was Michael Lock being robustly moved out of the way by Axel Laflamme, and that is just now going to show how quickly you can. Laflamme is. It doesn't matter who's in front of him. He's just got through on Matthew Bice and has just said, right, got to get out of my way, sunshine, coming through. And look at the gap he's now got over Michael Lock. It's 1.4 seconds. And looking at his lap times at the moment, he just did a 31.387. And look at how the car is handling through the first part of Imola. The back end was stepping out on the right rear to try and get the rotation through. And that's kind of a karting driving tech where you can, kick the tail out a little bit, get the cart to rotate. Because I think that's David the Lexus RCF.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. You want to take it easy a little bit early on. He's leaving nothing on the table right now because he wants to get back to where he was. I'm sure he's fuming, so hopefully he is able to hold on to it as we go to GT3.
Yeah, Petrovsky versus Katharinakis, McLaren versus Mustang. And we've had a big moment. Bradley Sellers and Robin Merling have just both DNF'd on the spot. The pair of BMW M V8 hybrid Evos, they are out. So we're going to see the Champion Motorsports replay. Oh, don't tell me this is going to be in. Right, so what has happened here? He's just... Sellers just pulled off to the left-hand side of the circuit. and then Robin Merling, high speed into Tamburello, goes straight on. And Dan Scott in the other of the
All the
BMW V8
rookies.
and
Rookie
V8
monsters are out.
hybrids. They are really, they drop like flies at the moment. That's all three of them.
Yeah, that's curious, especially since they're all rookie monster drivers, and I'm wondering if maybe they just decided that they were tired of dealing with the BMW within traffic and are pulling out, or they have another race event that they need to get to. I'm not sure. That's very unusual.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully find out in due course, as there is Dan Kirby leading the LMGT3 division, now being overtaken and lapped by overall race leader and hypercar points leader after 2 rounds of the series so far, Ben Kesby for British Turkish Racing. As they go up from Torza, now into Pinatella, disposes David Young very, very quickly. I noticed that there are 2 Lexus RCS because Peter Meyer is the other one in the 078. So Kesby absolutely flying at the moment. His last lap was 1:32.922. And looking down, out of the top 10, all comprised of hypercars, the fastest, no surprise, Axel Laflamme in P6, and has got that gap down to the 007 Toyota of Magnus Dahlgren down to 2 seconds. And took 7/10 out of him in the first sector, 2/10 in sector 2, so that is nigh on a second that Laflamme has taken out of Dahlgren, and that gap is now coming down significantly quickly. But I think, like you said about tyre deggers, someone's just kicked up the gravel going through into Rivazza, and that was ahead of the battling pair of Petravki and Katarinakis.
Yeah.
So we just heard that there's been some CPU spike issues that have caused problems. Reference the mod for Robin Merling in the number 39, and that might have also had a cascading effect on both Daniel Scott and Bradley Sellers. That is just a real shame. But who was that behind Katarinakis? That was one of the Acuras. I think that might have been Becky Ely Clark that is.
Oh, yeah, in the other one, yeah.
Yeah, so because you've got Becky Ely Clark in one of the Acuras, and I don't know who that is behind. Well, there's Becky Ely Clark there.
George and Alan Smith, I think, were. Yeah, there's Angelides, who's chasing down John, or I guess he's out in front of John Meyer. So he's actually doing pretty well after Acura had their win at Long Beach over here in IMSA, and now he's running the way in the Acura over here at Imola, where unfortunately they are not participating, and they just gave news, the real HRC team, that Acura will be pulling out at the end of this season for IMSA.
Yeah. And then just going to show that there's David Yunt trying to close in for position in LMGT3. I think is that Matthew Bice, I think, just behind them. I mean, he started stone dead last. He's now up to P30.
Yeah.
So this is for position on the road. So the very, very first frantic and how can I say, frantic and furious 15 minutes opener here at Imola for round 3 of the series. Scott, Ross.
The other Scott.
Sorry,
yeah, no, that's all right.
This is my 3rd broadcast in a row, guys. Apologies for the name.
It's a long day.
Yeah, it's been a long day. I'm just showing me age.
No, it's all good. But yeah, it's as far as Matthew Bice here, he's basically just tucking his head down and going for points for this race for the team Bice, because I don't believe Steven Bice is in here today. I'd have to double check that, but I think it's just him and his brother Mike are going for points. Oh, it looks like all 3. Okay, yeah. As they're coming up behind the newcomer, Sen Stoffmeal, who's down there in GT3 in the pro side, who's, I believe, in 3rd right now, chasing down JT Tammy, and the indomitable Dan Kirby, who's at the front by, I think it was about 7 seconds or so last time I looked. Well, it's coming down a bit.
Yeah, he's actually closing in on William Snowden in the Mercedes for P3, who's just up the road, and there's a couple of cars Becky Lee Clark and Troy Uyen trying to get through on the Mercedes at the moment. And there goes Troy Uyen. And yeah, Senna Stoffmeal doing a good job in the Aston Martin Vantage Evo GT3. And now the Mercedes and the Aston Martin will be in battle. Just
Here at the Tom Lane.
Yeah, he's catching hand over fist to close in on the caddy of Johnny Gutierrez. As Gutierrez has a wobble going through turn 7 here at Tosa. So again, it's just about knowing when to apply the power, and we are not that far away from the first possible window of pit stops, according to the keys to the race earlier on today. That it was going to be between 20 to 24 minutes per pit stop as we run on board with Johnny Gutierrez, who now finds himself 3.5 seconds behind Ben Kesby, who has unleashed. Despite the fact that the 499P has got more weight, less power, slightly less torque, Kesby still able to ring it by the scruff of the rear wing and pull it along kicking and screaming, but a mistake through the first part of Rivatsa by Gutierrez. And it's not just Tom Lane. Look who's behind them in the Toyota. Timon Suvic is also now in close competition for what is the battle for P2, P3, P4 as we hit 18 minutes completed here out of the 90. A yellow out in sector 3, which has just been briefly retracted. But Gutierrez, he was so lucky that didn't go further south through the second part of Rivatsa, because Tom Lane is absolutely chomping at the bit, trying to see if he can get through into Villeneuve now. And the battle continues onwards. But whilst these three are battling here, Ross, what this gives to Ben Kesby is the advantage he needs. A clear gap, clear air, and the ability to push to his heart's content within the confines and limitations of the Ferrari that he's currently piloting.
Yeah, he's looking back and laughing right now at these three going at it. They're all very skilled drivers in their own right, and it's great to see three different manufacturers going at it. But I agree that 499 is still a weapon on the track, and Gutierrez is wringing the neck out of that Cadillac as Tom Lane picks it up and tries to go around the outside, coming to the chicane, gets the job done. Almost looked effortless from that part. So now it's Suvic who's on the attack, and he's trying to get that position up. Also running an all-wheel drive with that Toyota, the new Evo version with the TR010. So he should have an advantage here coming around. Just watching Gutierrez, it doesn't look like he's terribly... Oh, wow, he already affected the pass. I didn't even see that coming. So Johnny Gutierrez definitely struggling. He must have really put the tires to the test early on in this run, because every time he goes around the corner, that back end just seems to step out more and more. I'm hoping he's able to hold on to it through the rest of the stint. But, man, that car is definitely struggling from the pace that it had earlier.
Yeah, I mean, the car stumbled coming out of Variante Alta, and then it was through the second part of Rivatsa that Timon Suvic made the move for P3 on the Cadillac. So now we get to go back to LMGT3 Pro, and it is Stoffmeal versus Snowden. Mercedes versus Aston Martin with two different powertrain solutions. Twin turbo 4-litre V8 up front in the Aston Martin, 6.2-litre naturally aspirated V8s in the Mercedes just ahead. But both cars looking very strong in a straight line. But Stoffmeal trying to put the pressure onto the rear bumper of Snowden as they head through Tamburello and then exits out of there, heading down in towards Villeneuve at turns 5 and 6 before the tight left-hander, which is nigh on a hairpin at Tosa at T7. So Senna Stoffmeal really giving good chase and putting the pressure, keeping William Snowden very honest as they have a GTP firing its way through the inside of turn number 7, and they keep to the right-hand side of the circuit to allow the GTP machinery to, well, the hypercar machinery to get through. And there is that just goes to show you can blink and come out of Tosa, and then before you know it, 3 hypercars have passed you by the time you got to Aqua Minerale at turn 9.
Yeah, and there goes Jerry Chen in the sole Porsche 963 in the field. another program that we've seen exit WEC here, and he's keeping it alive. It's still staying in the mod pack because of its involvement in IMSA, so he's championing that car. It's interesting, both that hypercar and the Aston Martin, those were cars of choice the last couple years just because they were so well balanced that they were just absolute weapons across the entire schedule. And now those are basically the only 2 cars represented in the field. Those Jerry Chen and Senna there. They're just keeping them going and keeping them alive. You would have thought something like the Lexus, who's on its final voyage in the series, might have a little less representation, but no, it's these 2 really balanced cars.
Yeah, just seen in YouTube chat, Brad Sellers saying that Robin had sound issues and I had CPU stutter issues. So I think, yeah, Team Rookie Monsters opting to pull the plug from the life support from all 3 cars and just going, well, it's not quite working out. And we'll see how things transpire when we go to Spa for the next round of the series. But nevertheless, Jerry Chen doing a sterling job at the moment with the sole Porsche 963 Hybrid. Of course, another manufacturer that is going to be leaving the World Endurance Championship at the end of the year is going to be Alpine. As oh, was that a little bit of air that Stennis Stofffield just managed to catch going through Pinatella? It looked like, because there is a little bit of a raise and a crest there through that part of the circuit, and with the damper rebounds, as did I just spot there was a car backwards through Aqua Minerale? I thought I saw something pointing the wrong way. Not 100% sure.
I think it might have been just one of the utility crews that was off on the side, maybe. I hope it was. I didn't see
Let's just see the replay. Stuart Barge through Pinatella goes straight on. And has to keep out of the way. I think that Ben Kesby going through turns it in, and then here comes Becky Ely Clark. That is through Tamburello. She goes rally crossing, so the Joker lap has been used. And then yeah, Stuart Barge not having the greatest run of luck, and then this is what we see. So into Pinatella at turn 8, car runs wide. Probably just to keep out of the way. And then through into Aqua Minerale, into turn 10, hits the curbing. All good for him. But yeah, Carl Strahal has just come up as a DNF. Alan Holden, who we saw last season running in the in one of the series, running in the Ferrari 296, he's in the Lamborghini, the sole Lamborghini Temerario. So Carl Strahal, what's happened to? He's gone return. So that is possibly. I'm wondering whether that might be a disconnect, possibly for Carl, maybe.
That was odd though, Alex, because he stopped suddenly. Usually, when you see a disconnect, the car will kind of drift off into space and then just whip back to the garage, as we see Ely chasing down Chauveau.
Axel Laflamme has just DNF from the race, and that car was running slow, pulls to the right-hand side. Now that's the tail end of what we just caught on the replay. So Axel Laflamme, pole sitter, dropped to 14th after the start, and he just pulls to the right-hand side and brings the car, I think possibly, well, he's bringing the car in. Now the thing is, we're 26 minutes in. Now
that might be fuel, yeah. Like we've got I was gonna say Paul in the background. I'm used to using that one, but we got James in the background running cameras, and he was speculating that this might be fuel.
Yeah, for those wondering where Paul Glover is, he's Paulie No Mates over in the USA at the minute. Oh, big moment there. Oh, that was a big moment that we just saw in front of Becky Ely Clark. Someone lost it through Variante Alta. And that was one of the Ferrari.
Koenig.
Oh, it was Koenig that has just dropped it. Oh, that was very lucky that the number 34 Ferrari did not hit the barriers. So the CMS Pro Ferrari of Koenig getting away with that one. Look at this, just bumps over the curb on the first part of the chicane, and it turns the car around with the greatest of ease. And that was definitely that could have been a lot worse than what it looked like. But Riley Koenig in the CMS Pro, number 34, is now back on track. We have had our first set of pit stops in the hypercar classes, and Becky Ely-Clark is leading.
Well done. Her premiere in the hypercar class, actually. Her and Ben Borman both, who have teamed up in a number of series, are actually teammates in the Lotus Esprit in the 1981 historic series. We're running sister to this. So it's good to see that she's pulling out her fuel saving skills right now, and that's put her out in front. This is making her the leader right now, but I'm sure she'll probably slip back down once we get through the cycles. I imagine she'll be coming in this time as Jerry Chen has a bit of a moment right in front of her. And Stephen Miller.
So the battle for the P2 battle in GT3 is starting to heat up here. JT Tammy versus William Snowden and Stennis Stoffmeal. So that's Lexus versus Mercedes versus Aston Martin, and then they've got the hypercars closing in on them. So they've got to be very, very careful, and that is going to be, I think, accurate is that. I'm trying to look out for the number plates, and so that was number 92. So it's like looking down the timing list, and that is Alan Smith that's making hay whilst the sun shines. I mean, Becky Ely-Clark has been out on track for nearly 28 minutes. You said about fuel saving. I mean, also the track temp is 35 degrees Celsius, so that's going to be quite hot for this part of the locality. And well, it looks like, yep, Axel Laflamme has just come into chat and said, I ran out of fuel. Oh well, there's always next time. Have a good race, everyone. So confirming what our suspicions were on that particular occasion, Ross.
Yeah, that's terrible. And kudos to not Paul, to James down there running cameras.
Not Paul. Oh,
no.
Brilliant.
No.
We've officially got a nickname for Paul Glover. He's Paulie No Mates. So, right. Just got word that there's been a big incident, and I'm not looking forward to this one. So this is the 174 through it. Oh,
right in front of his teammate, Stuart Barge.
Thank goodness Matthew Overton, our friend, our resident friendly Canadian, always makes it. I mean, the thing is that we've seen him do really, really well in an Aston Martin, and he seems to be struggling in the Ferrari. You know, where we see like people that have gone in particular cars and they've really, really gotten used to it over a couple of seasons, and then they go, "Yeah, I fancy a change," and then it's a complete reset. And I don't think Mr. Overton was hoping for a Code Brown moment like that through at Tamburello places.
Matthew's been doing this for a while now, and we actually have a phrase where we say "doing an Overton," and he'll have moments just like that. Although, there's a little bit of a clip there, nearly on our leader of this group, this battle group. Was that George going by? I think. Yeah, he just got right in front of JT Tammy. It compromised him a little bit as now we see that Snowden pulling up a little bit. I mean, this group has just been welded together at this point. I mean, they just keep closing in. I think JT is probably trying. I mean, he's driving his race, but I think he's going to a fuel number to make sure that he gets in there just at the right time. And like I said, this is a tight track, so defending, you're going to have a little bit more of an advantage, assuming that somebody doesn't throw it down the inside with a dive bomb. But these drivers are... Oh, and we see Senna going in behind them, so he's peeled off early. And they'll continue this battle. I'm sure they're going to be coming in probably within the next lap or so, because we're coming right in at the 30-minute mark. So they are right there. They should come around one more time and come in. I think that's Ben Borman right behind them, I believe.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I mean, Becky Ely-Clark leading the hypercar division overall with a fantastic... I mean, that could say to me that Becky might, if she gets her fuel strategy head on, which we know she can do, imagine if she does a two-stopper, which could be within the realms of possibility. However, with that comes the extreme lift and coast strategy, these hypercars, and that would not be easy. But if there's one person that we know, Ross, in this grid in the hypercar division could pull that off, I mean, Becky is more than likely going to be the person that might be able to achieve that.
Oh, 100%, Alex. I mean, running with her in the 1985 Group C cars, that was an eye-opener in the realms of fuel saving for sure, because that was basically the entire center point of the league. You know, you have to save fuel, and she was astounding at it. I don't know how she was able to get the pace she could and save so much fuel in the process, but she managed to pull it off and was very skilled, and she's been bringing that forward to every single championship she's been doing, and kind of showcased here. I'm just curious to see if she's able to keep some of the pace that she has. She's a very quick driver, but like I said, this is her premiere within the hypercar, and that ARX for sure is not an easy car to get along with. It likes to be stiff, and it likes to be driven a very particular way, and she's very adaptable, but it's definitely a challenge nonetheless.
Yeah, and that's what drivers do like, Ross. You'll understand this as well, that if you've got the opportunity to prove your worth in a machine that you're not quite used to as such, but you can really hustle with it. I mean, Becky Edie Clark has just, you know, on her sort of hypercar debut, has really given the rest of the opposition, I think, a little bit of something to think about in upcoming rounds. And to do that for 28 minutes is no mean feat whatsoever. And when we are seeing speeds now, coming back to the speed differential between the classes, I'm seeing speeds of 191, 193 miles an hour in the hypercars, and then we're seeing, like, say, John Uyan in the 111 Porsche 911 GT3. He's being classed through the speed trap at 170 miles an hour. So we're seeing a disparity of nearly 25 miles an hour. So in the meantime, Snowden versus JT Tammy is really closing into being a good old elbows out battle as we ride on board with the Mercedes of Snowden, and JT Tammy, I think, is just doing what he can just to keep a hold of that second position. Meantime, Dan Kirby is up the road by nearly 14 seconds. George Angelidis leading Mike Buse in the
that's a cut.
AM, and that close. That was blink, and that will be a case of blinking. You'll miss it. Oh, JT Tammy got sideswiped there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Mike Bice. He's definitely one of the more aggressive Bice. Oh, and he goes straight off. Oh, he keeps it off the wall, we hope. Oh, no, he doesn't. Oh. Yeah,
that just goes to show how quickly things can change. You're going to see straight on, cars just going straight on, and then there's the contact with the wall. Left front fender takes the hit.
Yeah. So not a lot of damage there, but that is going to cost him a bit in time. And he was right there with his teammate. I believe that was Matt Bice right behind him, although it might have been Steven. I can't remember which one's driving the green and the red anymore. But but yeah. So, okay, Steven's in the red as he's doing a lovely drifting job. And there's Mike in the purple. So yeah, you can see how much time he lost. And he's still giving grief. Is that Junt who's in front of him? I believe that is, because he was trailing behind that group in front. Who's actually, oddly enough, teamed up with JT Tammy this year. They were huge rivals last year. I was thinking this race in particular, where they almost practically were welded together, you know, banging off of one another, going around the entire race. So interesting that they've decided to team up as he comes into the pits now. That's not surprising. I think as JT, no, they're still going around. They haven't come in yet.
No, well, I mean, the thing is that with the, you know, you're looking at 30 to 35 minutes. We are getting close to the end of that 35 minutes. So I would say next time around, Tammy and Snowden will be in. Kirby's in. Van Bozekom's in. David Junt is in. Katarinakis for LMG is in the Mustang Evo. So he's dropped down to P3 in the AMS, which is still being led by Petravki. And then it is Peter Meyer. Yeah, so Petravki leading in the GT3 AMS by quite a considerable margin. It looks like, because he's got 4 cars between himself and Peter Meyer, as Petravki does not want to do that coming out of Tamburello. Yellow out again in Sector 3, so out at the moment from the race. Following DNFs are Axel Laflamme, Carl Strahal, Daniel Scott, Robin Merling and Brad Sellers. So we are down to 37 out of the 42 starters. And we have just over 37 minutes of the race completed for the 90 minutes of Imola here for the VWSC Modern for 2026. And again, are we going to see Tammy and Snowden cover each other off into the pit lane? Let's see. Are they going to carry on? Yes, they are.
Going again. Unbelievable.
That is incredible. I mean, they can get to 40 minutes as Barge gets a penalty from the server. Stuart Barge and the number 86 Ferrari 296 GT3. But that is incredible what Snowden and JT Tammy have been able to achieve. That is over 37.5 minutes that both drivers have been out on track for. And when you look at the gap between JT Tammy and Dan Kirby, that is now 52.5 seconds.
Amazing. Yeah, and they're going to actually make some of that up, because they're not running the same pace as Kirby for sure. I mean, you can see it there in the timing, but where that's going to make the difference is if they're able to do that again on the next stint. That final stint's going to be a whole lot less sitting time in the pits. I don't know if it'll be quite enough for them to close down the gap with Kirby, but that's where they're going to really get that takeaway, and the invoice will come due on that, and they will make out like bandits ahead of the rest of the field, who they've been able to gap quite well so far.
Okay, so it looks like we've had Becky Ely Clark exit the go off the circuit whilst out on track after her first stint, which was a mighty, I think, the best part of just over 28 minutes of racing, as JT Tammy and William Snowden come through out of Rivazza again. This is going to be they're going to both. Oh, right, Snowden goes in to cover off JT Tammy.
Oh, that was close.
That
he
was
came
close
right
by
on
William
him.
Snowden. He nearly went into the back end of JT Tammy. Here's the replay. Becky Ely Clark, Aqua Minerale, through into turn 10. Is there going to be a moment? Yes, there is. Goes slightly off track. And then we've got Bowman and Borman. Oh, this is going to be in at... Oh, the HRC car spanks the rear end into the barriers after a 180 at Tamburello, of all places. That was very, very lucky indeed, or maybe that was coming out of Vilna, but that was at high speed, and the car really just floated over the gravel. Then we've got a new fast lap for Vasilis Katerinakis in the LMGT3 AM division, just been in a 1 minute 42.980 in the Mustang Evo GT3, and he is about 10 seconds ahead of Stephen Miller. But Maximilian Petravki has a big old lead at the moment ahead of Katerinakis, which is going to be more than a minute, I would have thought, probably about 45 seconds to a minute at most. But Jerry Chen closing in on the 100 of Stephen Bice as they come across the line. This is the battle for P2 in the Hypercar AM division. And now we've had Stuart Barge become our latest DNF in the 86 296 GT3. Let's pick this apart. So Petravki has gone through. There's one of the... Oh, there's... he's gone straight on. That's going to smack bang into the barriers. Nose end in. That's going to be big damage to Ferrari. And that is our next retiree. 6 cars out of the race, down to 36, and bang, straight in. Front end absolutely smacks into the barriers hard at big speed, despite trying to slow it down.
Yeah, almost a mirror image of what we saw earlier with the Bice brother, where he just went straight in, and kind of looking at it's the same spot that like just right here that we saw that Ben Borman was going through, and he was chasing it. It looked like I don't believe it was Troy Yuyon. I think it was Koenig who was behind, but he was just about to hit him, and he somehow pulled up.
So, oh, look at this. JT Tammy, I think, might have got jumped in the pit stops by William Snowden. So Snowden managed to get in front of the 012 Lexus. So that is the change for P3 in the LMGT3 division. So Senna-Stoffmeal, who pitted a couple of laps earlier, is about 7.3 seconds ahead of Snowden. But, I mean, like you were saying a bit earlier, Ross, they're running to a different kind of strategy, Messrs Snowden and Tammy, in comparison with Kirby and Stoffmeal. And now the gap between the Porsche at the front end of the field in the LMG3 division and the leading Aston Martin is about 8 seconds. But JT Tammy, oh, dearie me, he decided he wanted to go and trip off the circuit for a moment and go for the Joker lap here at Imola. And you can see that JT Tammy, I think, has decided, right, I want to not see the rear end of that Mercedes AMG in front of me. I want to get past. And he nearly went over the limit and could have caused himself a mischief coming out of Villeneuve just then.
Yeah, he won't be the last one to do that today. We've seen a number of drivers going a little bit extension there, but yeah, he's trying to keep touch now with William Snowden. I'm wondering if Snowden may have just filled short of a full tank, so he could get a bit more of that jump out in front of JT. Not much. I mean, it only takes maybe a couple liters, and then you can get that advantage, knowing how close he was, and now he can get that fresh air and not be held up and not have to compromise his line or any of his pace. We'll see if it pays off, if he's able to kind of get away. Yep.
And Subic, oh no, it's second and third in the Hypercars. And look who's not that far behind. It's the sister car to Timon Subic. Magnus Dahlgren is there as well. So that is second, third and fourth in Hypercar. They are covered by 2 seconds, and they're just about to cross the line very shortly. Going to see who's the quickest out of the 3. And it is Tom Lane on that particular occasion. The previous lap it was Magnus Dahlgren. But what that has given to JT Tammy would have been the case of, yep, Adam Iway coming through. And then the underscore DR5 says, where did you get those TR010s? They're actually a mod that has been developed by CMS behind the scenes to make it as realistic to the FIA World Endurance Championship as we ride on board with Timon Subic in the 007 Toyota Gazoo Racing TR010, chasing down the Ferrari 499P. And in the meantime, whilst this battle has been going on, well, Ben Kesby is now 6.5 seconds up the road to the good, as we are nearly halfway through the 90 minutes of Imola here on both the JP. Oh dear, Senna-Stoffmeal getting it nearly crossed up, and Tom Lane now decides to activate overtake, and through he goes, and Subic is not going to let Tom Lane out of his crosshairs right about now as they go hard on the brakes into Nivatsa at turn number 14, through turn 15, and then it's through into the slight kink here at 16 before we go into Valiente Bassa, which is turn 17. Across the line they go. That'll be Pete. I think that's going to be Peter Meyer that they've just got through on in the other of the Lexus RCF GT3s. Very different livery for Meyer in comparison with David Yunt and JT Tammy, now running in the same team. And I was just going to say, Subic just lost a big amount of time. There was so much overcorrection trying to get the car to steer in the right direction that he just, the front end just decided, yeah, I'm not going to play ball. Lane having a little bit of a struggle coming out of Villeneuve, which means the Subic's able to close into Tosa now. And maybe the Ferrari might be able to stretch its legs. Yeah, you can see there that Subic is struggling a little bit with the front end now, as we're 46 minutes into the race.
Yeah, that the Toyotas have been particularly tricky. They can be very quick if you get the right setup, as we see Dan Kirby there leading the GT3s. And that looks like it might be Petravsky in front of him, who's leading the GT3 AMs. And now that's held him up tremendously. So yeah, I guess that was Petravsky's teammate there. But yeah,
No, that was not Petravsky. So that would have been the Daryl Kruger in the 95. So Petravsky, well, yeah, 94 will be Petravsky. But Petravsky's in pit lane. Daryl Kruger in the sister car, trying to do what he can, but he's got 94 on the rear haunches of the vehicle, so he's effectively number 94. Petravsky's 95. So they let the hypercars go as we see that Mike Bice has got into pit lane. And this is Becky Ely-Clark battling away for 8th position against the number 92 Acura Evo of Alan Smith as they go through into Rivazza. So thinking of it from this perspective, Becky Ely-Clark, I think pitted pitted around about the 29-minute mark. Came out in P8, says Michael Lock and Troy Uyan, I think, have just dived into pits, which they have. So now this becomes the battle for P6. And then they've got a Lexus in front. I wonder if that might be, that is going to be David Yunt, I would believe. So David Yunt, I know he's very, very, very opinionated individual. He will definitely say, well, you've got to get past me. I'll stick to the racing line. General modus operandi by the LMGT3s when they see hypercars closing in very, very quickly on their rear wings. And again, you see a little bit of snap of understeer for Becky Ely-Clark coming out of Tosa into turn 7, and then that's a wonderful shot on the shark fin of Alan Smith's number 92 Acura ARX 06 Evo, head into Aquinarale. And Becky Ely-Clark not afraid to get on the anchors here, Ross. Not at all.
No, she's very aggressive into corner entry. She can carry so much speed, almost too much sometimes. As you get a good look at the googly eyes on the front of her car. But she's that kind of goes to that fuel saving. She does manage to do very late braking with the cars, you know, early lift and coast into the beginning of the braking zone, and then just let it carry on past where most drivers would be easing onto the brakes. She just slams them in there as you see her go right on by, and that's going to be owing to her fuel saving, where she was, I mean, at 29 minutes, you're closing in on GT3 fuel economy at that rate, because they're usually around the 30-35 minute mark where they would go in there. But obviously, like, if she's going to do the same thing as she did before, that will have a big payoff. What she'll have to look for is it enough to be able to get those extra laps in there, because the fuel rate for these cars, you're not stationary for very long. I mean, you're probably around, I want to say 20 to 30 seconds, depending on what you're filling up to, but you're not getting too much back that you could be sacrificing on the track by saving that much fuel. So obviously this is her first race in this car, in a hypercar, in an official competition. So if, you know, if anything else, it might just be sort of a reconnaissance for her to see how she wants to take her strategies going into the future.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, if she does pull off the two pit stop strategy, because we are now just under 40 minutes to go, bearing in mind she didn't pit that long ago. I think it was around about 11 minutes or so ago, and she was the one that went out the longest on that fuel tank, as Ben Kesby now is currently in the pits. So is Zachary Chavot. Hubert van Gasthoven is also in the pits. So some drivers now effecting their second of possibly a 3-stop strategy, but Becky Ely-Clark continuing onwards now up into P4, and I think she will take third because Ben Kesby still in pit lane. Yes, and that is the case. She's up to P3. So I will be if Becky Ely-Clark pulls off a 2-stop strategy here at Imola, I think that's going to be one of the best drives of the day so far.
That would be incredible. I'm skeptical if she's able to do it. I think she might need a splash at the end. But if she can do that, oh, somebody's off in the background. That might have been a Kesby or his teammate there. I keep missing the name there. Mulling, not Mulling. It looked like a red and white car, so I thought it was one of those.
It could have been Troy.
Right.
Oh, well, okay. Well, we got word in my ear that one of the bices have been off. Oh, dear. That is not going to go well. This is through into Tozer, turns it left, spins around 360 into the barriers. And that would have been the number 98, wasn't it? So. Oh, dear. That is
was a hard hit.
So Peter Meyer now the next one to, and this is going through into Rivazza, off track, very, very wide indeed, comes onto the curbing, and it might be down here at Acqua Minerale, so that's going to be one of the hypercars going through, and I think it might have just unsettled him a little bit over the curbing, and no, nothing really much going on there, apart from Peter Meyer just keeping his wits about him, having eyes in the back of his head. As we now see that Magnus Dahlgren in the pit lane. Tom Lane now in the pits, which means that once again, Becky Ely-Clark is leading. Her advantage over Ben Kesby is about 11.6 seconds as things stand. Meantime, battle between Vasilis Katerinakis and Maximilian Petravki. This is for the GT3 AM class lead as they head into Variante Alta. The gap not that much between them, about half a second at best, as the McLaren gets the traction down quicker than the Mustang Evo. But Petravki trying to keep his wits about him as they go down the hill through into turn 13, into the first of the double left-hander here at Rivazza. Both take the same amount of curbing through the double left, and can Katerinakis stretch the legs on that 5.4 litre V8 Coyote Ford engine underneath the bonnet of the car that is not the most aerodynamic GT3 car in the world. Let's be completely honest here, Ross, but it does.
Look at it compared to the Acura. It's like a brick. Look at the height difference. It's just amazing.
Well, look at the height and then the speed difference. Oh dear, two nearly don't go into one at Tamburello, as it's two Acuras, one of which I think is Alan Smith, possibly, because he's rejoined in 9th, or it might be. I wasn't too sure who that was. It's happened so quickly. So it might have been Ben Borman and Zach Chavot, possibly, at that point. As here comes the number 98 of Mike Weiss going through. The man who we just saw a few moments ago having the 360 spin at Tozer and then smacking the front end into the barriers. Exit stage right, but has managed to get the car back on the circuit again. But wonderful on board here with the rear roof cam on board with the number 95 McLaren of Maximilian Petravki. They have got the sole Aston, that's another of the Weiss cars. I think that's Matthew Weiss going through in the number 99 car, the green machine. So he gets through into Variante Alta. 35 minutes to go, and I think really we should give you a top 5 rundown in each of the respective classes whilst everything's been a bit maniacal here at Imola here, especially with that race start. Becky Ely-Clark leads in Hypercar by 10.6 seconds ahead of Ben Kesby. Tom Lane rounding out the top 3 with Magnus Dahlgren and Johnny Gutierrez rounding out your overall top 5 as Becky Ely-Clark comes across the line to complete lap number 37 of the race with just under 35 minutes to go. Might not be that far away, maybe at the 58-minute mark, possibly to come into pit road if she's been able to save enough fuel, so that'll be maybe in 2 or 3 laps' time. George Angelidis leads the way in Hypercar AM ahead of Jerry Chen. And then Vinicius Goncalves, the sole Aston Martin Valkyrie, after the retirement from Axel Laflamme, who ran out of fuel, rounds out your top 3. Stephen Weiss and Norm Graff in the other. Well, there's been 3 Aston Martins, so good to see Norm Graff sticking with the car that he ran with the majority, well, pretty much all of 2025, and the 013 rounds out the top 5 in Hypercar AM. Daniel Kirby leads the way in GT3 Pro ahead of Senestofmil, with William Snowden and JT Tammy continuing their battle over the final step of the rostrum in 3rd and 4th respectively, with JT Tammy's teammate David Junt completing the top 5 in GT3 Pro. GT3 Am, it is 4/10 as we go back to the Warring 2 at the front. Bit of a tank slapper for Vasilis Katerinakis as he puts the power down. Back end steps out to the right-hand side coming out of Valiante Alta. The battle between these two, less than half a second between them. Stephen Miller in the 424 McLaren 720S rounds out your top 3. Ahead of Daryl Kruger in the 95 sister car to Petravki, and Peter Meyer in the very bright white and red Lexus RCF GT3 number 78 rounds out your top 5. 33 minutes to go, and the big question here, Ross Smith, is when do you think Becky Ely-Clark might pull the trigger and say, right, I need to pit?
Oh, as her teammate goes around.
Oi, 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 right in front of her. Oh my goodness! How many? It's like the final. It's like the Final Destination movie with the incidents that didn't actually happen. It's just like they spin, they go off in front of you, go right or left, and you're like, oh, dodged another bullet there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just impressed at how well she's been able to take to this car. Like I said, it is one of the more difficult chassis to run with. It's got that Oreca underneath, which I believe is one of the reasons you're not seeing very many Alpines or very many Genesis cars out here, because it is so stiff. There's so much that you have to do to the car. As you see Chavot off in the background. It's just so difficult to get this car to comply with how you want it to be and stay consistent. Because once you've heated those tires up, once you've worked them, you might have an amazing first stint. And then if you double stint it, suddenly you've got all that fuel weight in there, and the car just feels like a completely different monster. And it can very easily do exactly what happened in front of her with her teammate Ben Borman and just spin right out in front of you. So kudos to her for being able to not only drive this car to the limit and do very well with it, but now she's adapting a strategy which, depending on when she comes in for that stop, it could be the complete underdog move of the race. So yeah, I'm right with you. I'd love to see how she pulls this off. I think it's probably going to still need a bit of a splash at the end, but she's worked miracles before. We'll see.
Well, considering her pace has been quite consistent, she's running a high 32.8 at the moment. Kesby, mid 32.9. Lane, a high 33.8. Dahlgren, low 35. Gutierrez, high 33.7. So Becky Ely-Clark is making sure that the Acura ARX 06 Evo is nigh on fumes when she gets down into pit lane. So the number 093, a stellar job on her hypercar debut here in the Virtual World Sports Car Championship for 2026 here in the 3rd round of the series. And there is still a lot of, and just look
the
how
Tron legs.
I mean look, the Tron Aries and Legacy vibes have even extended to the driver's race suit in the cockpit. And look, bang on, pretty much 30 minutes to go. Becky Clark is the only driver that has decided, let's see how far I can push the fuel tank. Now, one of the big things that is going to help her as well is the fact it's a long run down pit lane. I think, is it 60 kilometers an hour is the speed limit, Ross?
Yes.
On the pit limiter. So
yeah,
that car will be sipping on fuel. And then when she guns it, it'll be a case of, right, let's see what we do. But the case is, we've got a replay coming. Oh, and this, John Mayer and Angelidis, and look, Alan Holden has nowhere to go in the Temerario. Oh dear, Well, let's just have a look. Oh, well, it's the Cadillac that causes all the drama, not the Acura.
Yeah. And either he hit Borman or our newcomer, Hubert Van, not Kesby.
Well, Yeah,
Oh.
well, yeah, but he gets biffed aside. Look, he gets biffed aside big time. Alan Holder with Temerario just hugs him out of the way. But the thing is that Mayer just was snaking under braking, so he lost control and was out of control before we'd even got to the corner. So, in some respects, John Mayer has got to look at himself and say, what did I do wrong there? He just completely outbraked himself, braked late, and then bang, punted by the Temerario of all cars. But still, Ben Kesby is back in the race lead. However, this is Michael Lock, Ben Kesby's British-Turkish team racing teammate in the number 2 Ferrari, who brings air underneath the 499P. And look at Timon Suvic. He's got the traction down in the Toyota. And look at this. Flashes the headlights, says to the car in front. Keep your eyes in your rear view mirrors, sonny boy, whoever you are in front. And he's, look at that. Suvic clears Michael Lock, who just had a wobble, big wobble, for the number 2 coming out of the second part of Rivazza. And where has Becky Ely-Clark rejoined? She is P7, 46.6 seconds behind Ben Kesby. And we have 27.5 minutes to go. Suvic absolutely throwing caution to the wind with complete reckless abandonment. Suvic flings it into Villeneuve without even a second thought. He's wrestling that car, and that's the way that car's got to be driven a little bit here, because he's just caught Katarinakis and Patafki, who have got the AM GT3 battle more in their crosshairs than the car that's going around the outside of them into Piratella at turn 8.
Yeah, I was watching that as they were coming up on it, and now they've been compromised even more. Petravki just lost the lead. I think he was compromised as that train was coming through. I wasn't sure who it was. It might have been Alan Smith that got right next to him right as they're exiting the corner, but that forced him off. And now it's Katarinakis has now moved up into first, and I think he's got not as big of a gap as I thought he would, but he's moving on about half a second. It's coming back down. Wow, so Petravki's actually been able to hold on to that pretty well, considering that he kind of got forced off, but he's going to be probably livid with some of those hypercars that are now getting onto their final third of the race, and they need to make moves, just as you saw Suvic going through there. This is unbelievable. He's just throwing everything at that car, driving it like a go-kart.
Yeah, and this is, if everyone else is going to be thinking, right, who do I really need to keep tabs on? Yeah, watch out if you got Timon Suvic right up your exhaust pipes, because that man is on the warpath right about now. And he's trying to close a gap to Johnny Gutierrez. And, well, it was just over 2/10 that Suvic made up, and the gap is now 6.1 seconds. Now, bearing in mind, you look at Lane, Dahlgren, Gutierrez, Suvic, they've all done 2 stops. And I'm looking at the lap time. Katarinakis has just lost the lead, and he's lost out big time. Here's the replay. Yeah. Katarinakis, this is going to be going through into Villeneuve. Oh, no, the Mustang completely sideways. Well, Petravki, I'll be completely honest there. Katarinakis held on to it. Petravki had nowhere to go. So you're going to see on board with Petravki, Katarinakis across the front of him. Petravki has to instantly turn right hand down, clips the left rear fender of Katarinakis, and that was just a mistake from the man in the Mustang, all on his own. He was trying to keep a hold of that lead, and yeah, he just completely dropped the ball, and Katarinakis is now 12 seconds behind Petravki. And that is the biggest gap he's had over Katarinakis all race long so far.
Yeah, and that was a shame, an unforced error. He just carried a little bit too much speed through there. He probably, could have done better to move his bias forward or something to keep the car a little more stable. But, hindsight 2020. Oh, as we've got a little bit of a tap from some of the biases coming through on our GT3 battle going on with Snowden and Tammy.
So it's Mike and Matthew in that order. They're closing in on one of the McLarens up ahead, which I think might be Petravki possibly, or maybe even Kruger in the number 94 car. Well, Kruger is now through on Miller, who has just got into the pits. So Stephen Miller in the number 424. Cool. Trash Panda Racing with chainmail, Ched Onuli on them. I wonder what the heck that means. I might look that up now.
It's a college, I believe, that they're referencing into. I can't remember which one, though. I briefly looked at it a while back because I was like, wait, is that the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria? Because they always go for a theme with their cars, and this one is different. I yield to no one.
That is the Latin equivalent of probably "Thou shalt not pass." In other words, Jerry Chen goes into his lane. So is Vinicius Goncalves. So yeah. So yeah. We're thank you to our wonderful producer behind the scenes, Mr. James Parfitt. From I think it was Erasmus of Rotterdam that took up that credence. So I like that. Yeah. That means 0 given. You fill in the blank, folks. That's all I'm saying on that one. But 22.5 minutes to go, and JT Tammy and William Snowden, it's ding ding round up until the end of the race, whatever you want to call it, in the battle for P2 in the LMGT3 division. Dan Kirby has run away with it. I mean, we all know what Dan Kirby's like. You know, it doesn't matter what you put it behind the wheel of, a GT3, a Hypercar, an LMP2. He absolutely flies, and the Porsche is ruling the roost here on Italian soil in the LMGT3 Pro division, as Goncalves is in the pits at the moment. Looking at the lap times at the moment through our Hypercar division, Kesby, low 33.9, Lane, high 33.1, Dahlgren 34.6, Gutierrez 33, high 33.6, Suvic, well, he's bringing the 007 kicking and screaming by the rear wing around the circuit, a 32.5, a 32.2, Michael Lock 35.2, Troy Uyan 34.1, Becky Ely Clark mid 33.8. So whether, if Becky Ely Clark is on strap, because the thing is, I've got a feeling in my gut here, Ross Smith, that the 7 in front of Becky Ely Clark will have to facilitate a pit stop before races end if they need to. And that's going to be quite crucial.
Oh, for sure. The way they've been driving, they absolutely will be in there. It's just a matter of how much time are they going to lose to where she is, and will she have enough pace at the end? Because we got John Uyan on screen.
Oh no, and he's hit the GT3 leader of Dan Kirby into Variante Alta. Oi!
John, teammate.
Oh, John,
but still, that was.
Oh my goodness, that Porsche got an absolute. Well, all I can say
Did
is
he not see him though?
Shoulder.
Like, yeah.
That was NHL style right there. I'm sorry, but that is how you do not pass an LMG3 car.
I think that
might have been Michael Lock that caused the drama there, but I'm sorry, that is not how you get through on a GT3 car.
You know, looking at it, I want to say it's too hard to tell from that angle. It almost looked like John thought that he was clear or didn't think he was going to be there. I would need to see it from behind to really tell. It was such an awkward hit. I mean, obviously you don't want to see that kind of side to side on a straight.
Yeah, but as I said earlier on, Ross, the big rule is that if you are the car that's closing in, hopefully we've got a replay. Okay, right, here's the onboard. I don't think, maybe, well, it could be a bit of a 50-50 here, but
I don't want to be a steward on that.
I definitely don't want. Yes, I was gonna took the words right out of my mouth, John. Right. No, I think the thing is, it was 5 of one and 300 of the other. The thing is that Michael Lock I think, could have played a bit of due diligence there. He was the faster car approaching the Porsche. And it is the faster car that has the responsibility. So I'm gonna throw it this way, that I think Michael Lock might be under the scrutiny of the stewards for that one, if I'm completely honest, Ross, because the thing is that if a GT3 car is wanting to hold that racing line, if you are the hypercar, if it was me, I would have thought, oh, right, I've got to hit the brakes. And that's what you need. Oh, dear. Matt Bites and Katarinakis are, that's Mike, Matthew,
And Mike is stuck.
And Katarinakis all in the pit. What on earth has happened there?
Well, so as an aside, when we were talking about that early pit box checking, and we'll take a see how this is. Wow, they're very close. A bit of a kiss on the cheek. So when they're doing that pit box check, it's to see what drivers are sharing, and if they are sharing, drivers do have a responsibility to make sure that whenever they take their pit stop, that they make an attempt to allow room on either side of them for the other driver they're sharing with, if they are sharing. And we actually have an update for this track, because the official DLC, there's actually an amusing picture where there were 5 cars sharing the same pit stop, and they all had to work that box out during the race. Fortunately it did, but you can actually have a penalty drawn against you if you do not attempt to actually get lined up on one side of the box. You just take it all up and you impede another driver. In that case, I have no idea where Katarinakis came in. I think he was sharing a box, but obviously the first Bites was hindered as he had a terrible approach and couldn't really do much about it. So I don't know how that will end up working out, if Vasilis was restrained or how that was, but that was very awkward nonetheless.
I can feel my ears burning now that the stewards post-race Ross are going to have a lot of work to pick apart. I mean, especially with how chaotic the start was, you know, nearly an hour and a quarter ago when we went green for 90 minutes. But still, Snowden versus Tammy, and, well, Kirby is in the pits from the lead of the LMGT3 Pro Division. Brian Van Berscom has just DNF'd in the 197 Mercedes, and
disconnect.
I think that looked like software issues and probably a possible DC there as well, because the car just ended up going right, and that looked like it was not driver assisted in any way, shape or form. But I think it was the computer saying, yeah, I'm going to say no right now. I've had enough.
A shame that it's so close to the end of the race. You know, you come all this way, and he was running a decent race, certainly to help out with the team points. But yeah, that's going to hurt him. Speaking of drivers in here, I was noticing that Alan Holden
Snowden,
and that lone Temporari.
Yeah, Snowden just had a wobble out of Variante Alta, and now JT Tammy sees a chink in the armor here. So this could be the opportunity for maybe the Lexus to go on the offensive. Now, with the fact that Kirby has rejoined in 4th position, and how far behind is he? Well, he's a little bit further back. He's about 30 seconds, but bearing in mind these two still have to serve a pit stop before the races end, as we've got 15 minutes on the timer to go. It's probably going to be splash and dash, so it's going to be minimal. You can see how hard JT Tammy is working behind the wheel, heading into Villeneuve, coming out of Tamburello, and now it's 150 miles an hour into Villeneuve, 3rd gear, round about 75, 80 miles an hour. Yellow out in sector 3, as Michael Lock, I've just been duly informed, has had a drama, and that has been quickly retracted. Up the hill we go into Piratella, turn 8, down to 2nd gear, as JT Tammy keeping the revs high to around about 6,500 RPM in that 2nd gear. Down to 3rd, down to 2nd, around about 60 miles an hour. Up the hill, now up to third gear. Closing in now on 130 miles an hour. Down to second, down to first. Round about, 55 miles an hour through Variante Alta. And it's going to be down the run into Uvazza very shortly. It's a big amount of speed that JT Tammy has managed to scrub off with less braking distance than Snowden in front of him. Zach Chavo has come in for the last pit stop as JT Tammy has decided, right, okay, this is my opportunity. It's going to now put him behind Kirby, but how much longer? The big question here is, Ross, will William Snowden stay out? I think maybe he might have 1 or 2 laps, possibly at best, but I think maybe next time round he'll be in pit road.
I think you're right on that one. Yeah, he's going to do everything he can to extend that. You know, that might have been a strategic choice by JT to try and maximize. That's awkward with Becky Ely. It's a difficult corner always to get around, but yeah, she'll have a clear run here. But yeah, he wants to try and optimize his track time, as does JT Tammy. That's why he did a bit of the undercut, I think, because I'm sure he would have been able to go the same distance. Especially if Snowden had done kind of what we were talking about before, where maybe he just shorted it by a couple liters, if only to get out in front of JT. But they're going to be, yeah, he'll have to come in about now and just try and finish this one off. And we'll see Kirby go on by, 30 seconds. That's definitely going to exceed the transit time, if nothing else.
Yeah, Ben Kesby and Tom Lane now in for their final pit stop. Magnus Dahlgren now on lap 52 of this race is still leading. So Becky Ely Clark, I would imagine, will very shortly be coming through the final sector, and that gap is closing. So there is William Snowden across the line. He's going to go for another lap.
Again.
Oh, that might be possibly what could keep him in very, very good standing. But the thing is, his next lap has got to be one of the best in laps of his life right about now, because Dan Kirby is 31.5 seconds back in the number 90 Porsche. And so let's see, we've got another replay coming up, and it's Alan Holden and Katarinakis. Katarinakis and Holden both go off, and that is not how you exit Tamburello, guys. They were both pushed beyond the limits of adhesion and on the track surface, and Katarinakis still able to get the hammer down quicker. He's currently P2 at the moment, but the gap between him and Maximilian Putravki is a big margin. That is going to be 67 seconds. That's 1 minute and 8 seconds. So that's nearly the best part of that's the best part of over half the lap that Putravki is leading by, as Dahlgren finally pits. Ben Kesby, I have to say this, he's come out in front of Becky Ely Clark, hasn't he? Yes, he has. So Ben Kesby,
George.
Oh, this is not going to go well for George Angelidis, because he's got one of the bices right behind him. Oh,
he needed to not do that.
I'm sorry, that's not on, I'm afraid. So William Snowden.
He's going again.
What on earth is this man? Has he got a reserve fuel tank that no one knows about? 10 minutes to go. And get this, Becky Ely Clark. Now, where did she qualify? She qualified towards I think it was like P8 or something, if I remember correctly. Something like that. She is currently running 14.2 seconds behind Ben Kesby. Up 6 places now, as Snowden again off the circuit. Snowden is not having the best part of this penultimate stint, as it's 2x2, side by side, right behind it between GTPs. I think that's going to be Zach Chavot is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then also got, I think, Mike Bice just there, who's going to go off the circuit. Oh dear, don't try and do that at Piratella. William Snowden is thinking, what on earth have I done to deserve this? He's been assaulted from every which way but loose as Mike Weiss goes wide, coming out of Aqua Minerale. If William Snowden gets through all this and manages to get at least the top 3, we don't know if there's going to be how long it's going to be before he pits. I mean, the thing is that he's lost 2 seconds of the lead, so now it's down to 29 seconds. So William Snowden, you know, that car has been punted from pillar to post in the last 3 to 4 minutes, and Snowden now finally, with 8 1/4 minutes to go, dives into pit lane. This has got to be the fuel stop of his life right about now, because that gap is going to come down significantly. He's still trundling down pit lane. Kirby on his way down to Divatsa. So let's see. Snowden is fueling at the moment. And let's see how long this pit stop is. Gap is now absolutely being ripped a new one as Kirby comes out of Divatsa. 16.5 seconds fuel stop for Snowden, who's trundling down the pit lane. Is it going to be a race? Well, no, Kirby's already on his way. Kirby's already on his way, so he's got more than an easy gap. He's got clear daylight. JT Tammy is going to be closing in. Will Tammy get through on Snowden? Tammy across the line at full racing speed. Snowden accelerates. JT Tammy through, gets the undercut, the overcut strategy on William Snowden, who lost so much time, it cost him second on the road.
And look at the gap between them, almost exactly 2 seconds, which is what those hypercars chewed out of him from banging him around on the course. So that was absolutely the determining factor. And I was going to say that that can also be a consideration in coming in early, is just dealing with open air, open traffic, anything that might upset your race. It might not just come down to whatever the pace is, it's just who do you have to deal with now? And that has definitely played into JT's favor in this case.
Yeah, meantime, Becky Ely-Clark with 6.5 minutes to go has ended up behind Tom Lane. The only driver in the Hypercar division, Becky Ely-Clark, in the number 093 Acura ARX 06 Evo, is the only driver that has done 2 pit stops here at Imola. This, I mean, we thought that this was going to be the drive of the day. This is, I think, the drive of the season so far, that she comes in and does an absolutely blinding job on the fuel strategy. It's not going to give her the win, but look, she's got to be very, very careful right about now, because she's losing about 0.8 of a second a lap to Magnus Dahlgren in the 007 Toyota, who's just put in a high 34.4. Becky Ely-Clark's last lap was a high 35.2. So we are going to be on the cusp of seeing if she can hold on to that 3rd position, because that gap is slowly but surely coming down. But Becky Ely-Clark does a 33.8, waiting for Dahlgren to cross the line, which should be very shortly in about the next 5 seconds. And it's a 33.086 for Magnus Dahlgren, who I think is behind. Is that David Yunt or JT Tammy? Can't make out which one that is. So it's David Yunt that Magnus Dahlgren's got to get through, and that has cost him time. So now the gap is up to 11 seconds between Becky Ely-Clark and Magnus Dahlgren, with Ely-Clark on the verge of securing her first ever podium on Hypercar debut here at Imola. And we are very, very close to the end of the race, I think, including this one, as Ben Kesby has just gone through sector number 2. And when he crosses the line, that will give us the indication of how many laps we'll have of racing. He's currently doing a 32.2. So Kesby is going to cross the line, and it will be 3 laps remaining. So lap 50. This lap has just been completed, so that is going to be lap 56. And Becky Ely-Clark, I think she must be thinking, right, all I need to do is just coax this car to the end of the race and I'll get myself a P3, having started on the outside of the 4th row on the grid when we went green nearly 90 minutes ago. And I have to say, it is an absolutely brilliant tactical drive from Becky Ely-Clark. And it said to everybody, yeah, if I could do a 2-stopper, maybe you guys can do too if you put your mind to it.
And I kind of feel for Becky in some respects there, because I know that if she wasn't having to save as much fuel as I'm sure she is, she would probably be able to go up there and fight it out with some of these guys. You can see how much Tom Lane has taken out. I mean, he's almost 16 seconds up the road now as she's getting caught a little bit back in some of this traffic. But, oh boy, she definitely has the chops to be able to compete with them, but she's chosen a different strategy here. And, you know, some of that may have been she doesn't feel quite as comfortable pushing that car to the absolute limit. And so she's just trying to devise a different strategy to maximize pace, in this case, fuel, so she can be able to get up there. But I feel like maybe later on as the season goes, she's going to adapt a bit more of a hybrid strategy where she will push that pace a bit more while still trying to optimize some of the fueling so she can do shorter stops at the end of these races, these longer races especially, and be able to nip some of those cars on a good mix of strategy.
Yeah, but nevertheless, a strong effort for the number 093 Acura, the highest of the Acuras in the field here today at Imola, as we are on the penultimate lap of the race. Let's catch up with race leader Ben Kesby, who is looking to extend his championship lead. So when we do, Ben Kesby has been, you know, at the sharp end of the field all the way through the season. There he is. Heading through into Piratella at turn 8, down the hill into Acqua Minerale, as we've got a yellow out in sector number 2, the number 9 British Turkish Racing Ferrari 499P, the Cavallino Rampante, flashing the lights of the 424. That was a bit of a code brown moment there for Stephen Miller. He had to get out of the way sharpish as Kesby muscles his way over the curbs at Variante Alta, down to Rivazza for the penultimate time. 1 minute and 30 on the clock. Next time it will be the final lap of the race, and it will be a win for Italian machinery on Italian soil here at the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari. 1 lap to go. Ben Kesby striding away towards victory here in the Emilia-Romagna region of the country.
Tom Lane not too far behind, obviously still a ways away, and it would take an extreme event, which you know, it's something that I always tell people who are maybe not as familiar with endurance racing. It's never over till it's over, and as long as there is a single other car on track, even if it's just you, anything can happen and take things away or shift the dynamics immeasurably as you go into the end of the race. So always hold your breath until you finally get your hands on that trophy when it comes to the end, because anything can happen here. But right now, Ben Kesby has this thing in hand. He just has to keep it smooth and pay attention to what's going on around him. He'll have it. Hopefully no more Stephen Millers in front of him to give him a heart attack.
Yeah, definitely. And neither does Stephen Miller want to have the defib on standby, just in case. As Kesby fires his way towards Variante Alta. 10 seconds on the timer. Once we hit 0, which is going to be right about when Kesby fires his way down towards Rivazza for the final time. We hit 0 on the timer. 90 minutes of Imola have concluded here in Italy. And it is going to be, after 59 laps of racing, out of the final corner, out of Rivazza, Ben Kesby wins round 3 here at the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, winning for Ferrari and for British Turkish Racing by a comfortable margin with a winning differential of around about 16 seconds. It is going to be a Ferrari 1-2 in the hypercar division, courtesy of Tom Lane, but George Angelidis, the number 93, has kept his nose as clean as he can all race long, as he now heads out of Variante Alta and is corners away from taking victory. But Daniel Kirby will continue to lead the way in the LMGT3 Pro Division to Spa in a few weeks' time. The number 90 Porsche from CMS Pro is victorious here in Imola in the GT3 division. And George Angelidis will take the win here in the Acura ARX06 Evo Meyershank Racing Edition and finishes P10 overall. But what a battle we had in the LMGT3 AM division. It was McLaren versus the might of Detroit, and Woking comes out on top as the number 95 of Maximilian Petravki put it on pole position during time qualifying. And despite Katarinakis' best efforts, he could not better the 720S GT3 Evo of Petravki, who heads down into the Vatsa. Just 2 main corners to go. A blast up the start-finish straight, and victory goes the way. Maximilian Petravki wins round number 3 in Woking final.
It almost was a little bit of a slip
It
off the
almost
corner,
wasn't. It could have been what you said earlier. Might have just been a fate of circumstance, but Petravki wins LMGT3 AM. 4 deserving winners, but I have to say my driver of today has to be Becky Ely-Clark. 8th on the starting grid with only Hypercar to do 2 stops. She brings it across the line 30 seconds behind Ben Kesby. That has to say a statement. Kesby wins overall round 3 here at Imola ahead of Tom Lane, with Becky Ely-Clark rounding out your top 3. Dahlgren, Gutierrez, Suvic, Locke, Uyan, Smith and Angelidis out the overall top 10, with Angelidis your Hypercar AM winner. Oliver Day rounds out 11th ahead of Jerry Chen, Riley Koenig, and then Vinicius Goncalves rounding out the podium in the Hypercar AM division, placing 14th overall. Ben Borman finishing behind the likes of Stephen Bice, who picked up 15th. Matthew Bice and Mike Bice ran out the top 18 ahead of Zach Chavot and John Mayer, rounding out the overall top 20. Hubert van Gashoven 21st ahead of Norm Graff in the last of the Aston Martin Valkyries across the line. Dan Kirby wins LMG3 with JT Tammy and William Snowden rounding out the podium ahead of Senna Stoffmeal. David Yunt rounding out the LMG Pro top 5. Maximilian Petravki, 28th overall, wins in LMG3 AM ahead of John Uyan. Vasilis Katarinakis taking P2 in AM, 30th overall ahead of Alan Holden in the Sol Lamborghini Temerario. Peter Meyer in the number 78 rounds out the top 3 in the AM GT3 division, 32nd overall ahead of Darrell Kruger. Stephen Miller, Matthew Overton with Brian Van Boozekom in the number 197 Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, rounding out the 36th that finished, with Stuart Barge, Axel Laflamme, Carl Struhal, Daniel Scott, Robin Merling, Bradley Sellers, unfortunately retiring from the race. Whew. Breathe, relax. Imola is over, folks. But first, we've got some interviews, and we need to bring in our LMG3 AM class winner, Maximilian Petravki. Pole position. You take the win despite the best efforts of one. Vasilis Katarinakis, how are you feeling after a mad 90 minutes at Imola?
I'm absolutely finished. Completely finished.
I bet you're looking forward to a nice ice-cold beverage, ice cubes, and maybe a cold compress over the back of your neck after that race.
Absolutely, yeah. It's I knew that Vasilis had to do 2 stops. I was on target to do 1. In the end, it worked out, but if he had gone past me at any point, he could have probably just pulled away and gone off into the sunset and pulled a minute on me. So it was ridiculously stressful race. There was a few incidents with hypercars, and unfortunately Vasilis also crashed.
Still, a win's a win. Winner of round 3. You, as you said, you're completely finished. I think you need to take the rest of the weekend off. No sim time for you, my friend. But nevertheless, we go to Spa. May the 16th for 90 minutes. That's going to be another tough test as well, especially with the strength of the straight line speed of that Mustang.
Yeah, with Spa, I think the one-stop strategy is never going to work because the straights are so long. I think Vasilis has much better chances for a win there, or maybe one of the other top speed heavy cars. But as you said that I need to take the rest of the weekend off, but actually I have tomorrow, I have a 4-hour race in iRacing as well, so that's a nice one.
Well, at least you can relax and get some cold beverages down your neck to rehydrate yourself. But Maximilian, congratulations. We'll see you on May the 16th at the 90 minutes of, well, before we let you go, Maximilian, who would you like to shout out today?
Again, Daryl, because Daryl built the setup, and the setup is the best. It's the best setup I've ever driven. It's the most compliant car I've ever driven. You point it somewhere and it goes exactly where you want it every single time. I changed only a single tire for the whole race, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And Daryl built that setup, and he made it completely perfect. Absolutely perfect.
He almost didn't make it. We saw him slowing right at the end there to let the leaders go by, so he must have been really close on fuel.
Yeah, I think so too. I got past him at the start-finish line.
Well, Maximilian, congratulations on your win in LMGT3 AM. Good luck in your 4-hour enduro, and we'll see you on May the 16th for
Thank you very much.
round 4, the 90 minutes of Spa. Well done today.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
So next up, we'll go to our LMGT3 Pro class winner. It is the man, the one and only Dan Kirby. Good afternoon, Dan. How are you?
Pretty good.
Was that like a bit of a Saturday afternoon driving the countryside? Man, a few words, but was that a bit like a yeah? Well, the thing is, no one can hear James when he's talking to us here in the commentary box. But there we go. But Dan, nevertheless, a pretty convincing victory to continue your lead in the LMG standings.
Yeah, I mean, I managed a gap to the rest of the guys the whole race, but it still wasn't easy. 40-something cars on this track is traffic everywhere, chaos everywhere. Just trying to not get taken out.
Okay, well, I've got one question for you. When all the madness happened in the hypercars, what were you guys in LMG3 thinking came across all the madness and everyone going off track?
Please let me survive.
A very eloquent answer, I think, at this time of day. But nevertheless, you continue your dominant run in the series at the moment. We go to Spa on May the 16th. Of course, the Porsche doesn't always have the straight line speed, but still very, very handy through mid and high speed corners. How do you think things are going to go for you there?
It should be pretty good. I like Spa a lot. It's a really fun track, and driving this 911 is super fun car, so I'm looking forward to it. It should be awesome.
Well, Ross, have you got anything you want to ask Mr. Kirby?
I mean, this is nothing that I wouldn't expect to see here. I am kind of surprised that you went for the GT3s, but I understand that you just wanted a different sort of challenge. And it's kind of a shame that you didn't have those other guys who are doing all their fuel saving come in and be a factor there at the end. But you ran your race. John had a few more issues, as we saw, and you might see if you watch the broadcast back. But overall, I think you guys did pretty well here.
Thanks. Yeah, it was pretty interesting seeing a bunch of different strategies pop up. A lot of people were going long. One of the guys went like a short stint in the middle and jumped up. It was pretty cool.
Well,
Yeah.
Dan, congratulations on another victory in the LMGT3 class. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to in particular?
Just the usual, everyone here at CMS for the awesome race.
Brilliant. Well, Dan, congratulations on your win here, and we'll see you May 16th for round 4 for the 90 minutes of Spa. Well done today.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So next up, we'll head to our Hypercar AM winner, George Angelidis, takes the victory in this one. So we'll see if we can get George down here. 2 seconds. So George Angelidis, our Hypercar AM winner, George, that was a bit of a tough one when the hypercars got going for 90 minutes on that first lap, wasn't it? It was a bit crazy out there.
The start was, yeah. I mean, like, I think a lot of people kind of slept in the start, which is, I would say, typical. I gained a lot of positions in the start normally, so that was a good start. I went into at the back of the Hypercar Pro field at, I think, 10th position. And then I could keep the pace, so I was like super shocked. Yeah, I mean the whole race basically changed when Zach on the 60 car basically made the setup for the car. So this win goes to him. This setup is from him, and I think it's one of the best cars I've ever driven. It was on rails, very relaxed. It was doing exactly what I wanted to do. I thought our Le Mans car was very, very, very good, but I think this setup may actually beat it.
Oh, very, very interesting insight there. But George, we go to Spa on May the 16th for round 4. How do you think the Acura is going to handle there?
Traditionally, not being a good race for us at Spa. Not quite sure why, because mid speed corners, a lot of downforce should help us, but it has been marred with bunch of unluck and bad circumstances. There was one wet race, I think a few years back with Ross and teammate. We had a really good setup, and then we kind of like started collapsing with incidents on track. So I don't have high hopes up for Spa, but if we get something or a good result or be on the top end or thereabouts, I think that's what we need to be doing right now to keep this train rolling. Maybe we unlocked something with this setup, so yeah, really, really happy. Yeah, real win last weekend and a sim win this weekend with the same car. Can't be happier right now. It's just super nice.
Well, congratulations on the win in the Hypercar AM division, George. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to in particular?
Yeah, that goes to Zach. I know he struggled today with a couple of incidents. There was also a hypercar that blocked him on his pit stall. So it could have been a 1-2. We're getting there. We're banging the door for that 1-2. Eventually, we're going to do it at some point, I'm sure. So yeah, that win goes to Zach, and thanks for all the help on his setup and the work. Yeah, and we're gonna keep pushing, and hopefully we'll get this championship.
Okay, well, congratulations to our Hypercar AM winner, round 3 here at Imola. Congratulations, and we'll see you at Spa, George Angelidis.
Thank you, guys.
Last but by certainly no means least, the man that continues to lead the way in the Hypercar division, it is British Turkish Racing's Ben Kesby. Ben, do you hear us?
Hello. Yes, I do.
That was a bit of a topsy-turvy start to that race. We were just having a quick chat with George Angelidis, and it was a bit crazy there when everything sort of kicked off going into Tamburello on lap 1.
Yeah, I think it was a new guy on pole. I don't think he realised where the start line was first, and then for where we went past the middle start line, we were doing another lap. So when he got to the starting, he didn't go. Then everyone's obviously a bit uncertain about whether to go. And then we had someone coming out the pits right in front of us. So it was left traffic from turn 1. So yeah, not the smoothest start.
No, but things started, you got into your groove, got through on the opposition. I think one of the biggest challenges we actually saw was Becky Ely-Clark.
Yeah.
The 2-stop strategy when we had all gone in for 3 stops. I mean, that just goes to show that someone like Becky can come in on a debut and do an absolutely brilliant job. But still, she got P3 in the end. So were you sort of like thinking, well, I think the 2-stop strategy for me, because we know you're always pushing in that Ferrari 499 anyway, just to run your own race and just worry about things a little bit later on, isn't it?
Kinda, but that's not what was going on in my head. As soon as I saw her do that 20-lap first stint, I thought, oh, she's got a whole pit stop on me. I don't know, because Imola's such a long pit lane. You lose so much in the pits. So I was like, and she was keeping pace somewhat. She was mostly like on pace with traffic. So I thought after that first stop, I didn't have much of a chance, to be honest. And then by the second stop, I was like, maybe I am a bit closer. But I was also trying to manage Tom behind and stuff, because I know if I try and fuel save too much, lose too much time, then he's going to be ahead of me. And then if that strategy is faster, he's going to win. So yeah, it looked smooth, but it was very chaotic in my head what was happening.
But still, nevertheless, you end up winning here at Imola. We go to Spa on May the 16th for another 90 minutes. Ferrari looks to be a very, very strong vehicle around there with a good combination of handling and top speed, even though there's been the additional weight and the slight reduction in torque and power to the car following the new update on the mod.
Yeah, we have to see what the tyres say, because there's so many long corners there, and with it being four-wheel drive, we just burn through those front tyres. So Imola's okay, because it's a lot of stop-start. So we'll see. It might be a case of having to either run the hards or like change tyres when some of the rear-wheel drive cars don't necessarily have to. So we'll see.
Well, congratulations on the win in the hypercar division, Ben. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to shout out to or say thanks to?
Yeah, cheers to everyone, you guys, and everyone that hosts it. And cheers to the traffic. It was quite nice out there for once. It was wasn't too bad.
Well, congratulations to our hypercar winner, the overall race winner, Ben Kesby. We'll see you at round 4 for the 90 minutes of Spa. Well done today, Ben.
Cheers. See you there, guys.
Well, that concludes our interviews here for the Virtual World Sports Car Championship 2026 Round 3, the 90 minutes of Imola. Ross Smith, final thoughts. I think we had bedlam at the beginning and then some great battles up and down the order, but we had some worthy winners and some great drives nevertheless.
Yeah, definitely a testament to the whole field. Just being able to deal with some of the new shenanigans that we were dealing with. Drivers reacted as well as they could. I'm glad that we didn't have an incident like last year where drivers were trying to pass up pit lane and there were some pretty nasty incidents going into the wall on that one. So to that effect, it was pretty good, at least for what we could see. So lots of good close racing, lots of big battles, great strategies playing out, like you said, with Becky Ely Clark and some of the others, certainly within GT3 and all throughout the field. So very entertaining 90 minutes, and makes me can't wait for Spa next on the next round.
Yeah, so that's it from us here at the at JP Broadcasting and also Champion Sim Racing on YouTube. Thank you so much to everyone that's watched along for the 90 minutes of Imola. Round 4 takes us from the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy to the legendary Ardennes forests of Belgium, as Circuit Spa-Francorchamps will host round 4 of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship Modern 2026. And on behalf of James Parfitt, Ross Smith, my name's Alex Goldschmidt. Thank you so much for tuning in. And don't forget, if you get the opportunity, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We will see you on May the 16th for round 4 at Spa-Francorchamps. Until then, race hard, race fair, and if in doubt, we better go flat out. Thanks for watching.